Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Churchill Downs on Friday. It's race number 11. It's the Grade 2 Clark. $600,000 is the purse. Some nice older horses going a mile and an eighth. Before we take a look at the field, check out DRF's Black Friday sale. 20% off just about everything in the store. Use the coupon code BF2024 and head on over to shop.drf.com to access those Black Friday deals. And let's take a look at the field for the Grade 2 Clark Stakes. It's a pretty strong group of Grade 2 horses, Mike. Brad Cox has the 3-year-old Most Wanted, who's unbeaten and is going to get the toughest test of his career. And he has a tough colt in Hit Show, who's won 3 in a row, both sons of Candy Ride and both strong contenders in this spot.
Agreed. I'm gonna say that Hit Show is the horse to beat here, Dan, coming off of a win over a couple of these horses at Keeneland in his most recent start. He's just one of those rock solid horses that always shows up. But there are other ways to go in this race too. I mean, this is actually a pretty well matched field.
And there's some speed in this race. So we'll throw up our Timeform US pace projector. Timeform US believes the pace will be fast. The number 1, Ballsy, was second last time out in the Fayette after making the pace. Wonder if he's fast enough to make the lead this time around, but he is getting blinkers and breaking from the inside can be aggressive. Most Wanted has shown versatility, but he also likes to be up close. And Cooke Creek was very ambitiously ridden last time out. From post 9, he'll have to work to make the lead, but he's pretty quick as well. Grand Aspen, the 2, has tactical speed. I just wonder what sort of form he's in.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll see how this pace plays out. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be fast up there, Dan, but I guess we'll see, how it all plays out. Cooke Creek is, a little bit of back class for him, and he's been in good form since the claim, and he's been in good form as they've used his speed. So maybe they'll keep that going.
If this pace is hot, there are 3 quality closers to keep an eye on. The 8 Red Route 1, the 7 Rattle and Roll, and the horse with the fastest Timeform US late pace rating, the number 3 Croupy. We'll start things off with the number 1 Ballsy, who was a big price last time out in the Grade 2 Fayette, and Frankie Dettori was riding the hair off of him from the start to get to the lead and was really scrubbing on him at about the 3/8, and it looked like he was not going to be any match for Hit Show, but to this horse's credit, he really dug down deep and held on to finish second. He's getting blinkers. We'll see if that maybe focuses him a little bit. Frankie said after the race, the horse just seems very lazy.
I liked the ride that Frankie gave him in there, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I think it gave him his best chance to win there. And this horse almost pulled it off. I mean, to me, ultimately, it wasn't quite as close as maybe it looks on paper there, because to me, from the top of the stretch, it didn't really look like there was any point when Hit Show wasn't going to beat him. But this horse fought very bravely in there. Clearly the best race he's ever run.
Perhaps he's racing himself into his best shape. This will be his 3rd start since a February layoff. And maybe the excuse off the bench in the Lucas Classic was the sloppy track. He still needs to prove himself against this caliber of horse. The 2 is Grand Aspen, who ran very well at Gulfstream towards the end of 2023, earning a grade stakes placing. And the Pegasus World Cup just seemed to rock his world because he got beaten a million lengths, then went to the bench for a long time, and then did nothing in the Fayette.
Yeah, well, he has the layoff as an excuse last time, but that was, hardly a compelling performance in his first start out of the Pletcher barn. His Pegasus World Cup was a terrible performance. And they threw him in there off of a fast effort, damn it. I didn't even really like his Harlan's Holiday that much. I don't know, man. To me, this horse looks his good races look better on paper than they actually are.
Croupy, the number 3, is really kind of a plodding type. You give him some pace, he's going to come with a run. We saw him win the Suburban during the little Belmont Stakes at Saratoga Meet. Then he tried Superstar Marathoner next in the Brooklyn, and he had no chance in that race. And then he caught 2 wet tracks in his most recent starts. Last time out, I think that wet track really hurt him, and I just don't really think a 4-horse field plays to his strengths.
Yeah, you could see them trying to make sure he stayed closer in that race too. That's not his usual running style. I'm not sure why they decided to be, wide around the track in there either, because they didn't have to be. But either way, he didn't run well last time. I'm not going to hold it against him. This race, if that pace projector is right, it really helps him. This horse is good. He's going to sit back. He's going to make one run in here, and he can beat these horses if things go his way.
Piroli, the number 4, was grade 1 placed at a huge price in 2023. Got back on the beam last time out at Keeneland, going this mile and an eighth distance. He was entered for the $100,000 claiming option. He turns for home with the lead. He's going to start wandering about a little bit under a full drive, but he gets the job done. He was a big price against weaker horses. He'll be a big price against these tougher foes.
Yeah, they're going to step him back up here off of a pretty nice win, but he's going to have to run better than this, Dan, and we'll see, what kind of trip he can pull in here. He's another horse, too. So far, the stakes races really haven't gone too well for him. They ran him in one where he sort of showed up with a decent performance last year. But man, they run him in stakes races. They take the Lasix away from this horse. He doesn't run that well.
Most Wanted is the number 5, a perfect 4 for 4 in his career. Let's watch him get the better of 3-year-olds in the Oklahoma Derby. What I liked about this race, Mike, was that he never got a breather. 23.6 opening quarter, 23.88 second quarter, 23.82 third quarter, facing all sorts of pressure. Looked like he's beat at the 3/16 pole, roars right back and wins under Florent Geroux. This is a much weaker field against the bunch of talented older horses he's facing on Friday, but he's pretty good.
I agree with you. There's upside here too. I mean, listen, first of all, he's bred to be a real good horse. Half brother to Life is Good, who was just a really, really good horse. That race you're talking about there, Dan, you're right about the way the pace ultimately played out. And that was, in some ways, that was Giroux's fault too. I'm not sure what the plan was there, but this horse made an easy lead in there. And instead of just taking charge there, they stayed well off the rail. They let a horse come up his inside and challenge him. He wound up between horses in the stretch. I still like the way he put those horses away when they came for him. This horse, he has a chance to be pretty good, but he better up his game against this field.
His trainer, Brad Cox, has also managed the 6 Hit Show beautifully. He's put him in just the right spots, it seems, every time in his last 3 races. And it doesn't matter if it's wet or dry at Mountaineer, Churchill, or Keeneland. This horse wants to fight you, and he will win the photos. Here he is in the Fayette last time out. Ballsy has the lead in the Dark Silks off the rail. But here's Hit Show immediately setting upon this horse. He's going to get to the front. He will not relinquish the lead, and he goes on to beat 3 of these.
Yeah, I just liked his performance. Then again, it's close at the end, but to me, there was never a point where it looked like he wasn't going to win here. He was very confidently ridden, I thought, all the way around the track by Florent Geroux. To me, he's just much the best in this race. He ran a faster race 2 starts back. I know that was a wet track, but that was a faster performance. You were kind of waiting to see this horse sort of break through and run a faster race this year. He did it 2 starts back, and I think he ran a lot better than it looks last time on paper.
Rattle and Roll, the number 7. Can Kenny McPeek and Brian Hernandez do it again at Churchill Downs? Of course, we all know the exploits of Mystic Dan and Torpedo Anna in the Derby and Oaks, respectively. Rattle and Roll's banked $1.7 million in his career, and he came off a really long layoff last time out in the Lucas Classic. He caught a wet track that may not be his favorite, and I think the sneaky late run he put in shows there's still some life in the old boy.
I agree. Thought he ran really, really well in there off the long layoff, and it's worth pointing out. We haven't seen him since then, but he was entering the Fayette. They thought they were going to get into the Breeders' Cup, so they didn't run there, and then he didn't get into the Breeders' Cup. So now we haven't seen him since the end of September. But this horse ran really well off the layoff. I thought he had a really good. I don't want to say great. He had a really, really good 4-year-old campaign last year, and I think he can build on that this year. He's a dangerous horse in here.
Steve Asmussen is a master at placing his horses in great spots where they can be competitive. And the 8 Red Route 1 is a perfect example of this. This horse has banked 7 figures in his career. They put him in the Cornhusker handicap, his most recent start at Prairie Meadows on July the 6th. And this is what Red Route 1 does against this sort of competition when he gets the right race flow. He doesn't have a lot of speed, but he will kick in the stretch. And he ran really well to beat a couple of next out winners, one of them being a somewhat disappointing Hit Show.
Yeah, he did run. He ran really well in this race. And then I'll go back to I just want to point, because I'm not a big fan of this horse, but he was good in there. He ran really well when he won that New Orleans Classic earlier this year. I thought he ran really well that day with a triple-digit buyer. Listen, he's another horse who's sort of pace dependent, and he's going to need something to develop in front of him, and he's going to need a clean run into it. But he's a lot better than I ever gave him credit for, Dan. I still kind of prefer, if I had to take a closer in this race, I'd probably take Croupi and Rattle and Roll over this horse, but he's pretty good.
Cooke Creek, the number 9, is another successful Michael Maker claim. The Flying P outfit was on fire at Saratoga, and Cooke Creek was one of those horses that just could not lose, wiring him in a slop. But this horse came right back in the Lucas Classic and ran very well. Horse never got a breather. 23.62 opening quarter, 23.88 second quarter, drifts off the rail to look Hit Show in the eye in the stretch and fights him all the way down to the wire to get beat a dirty neck. It was a really good effort for Cooke Creek. Can he rate? Will he have to rate? That's the key to this race, because there are speeds to the inside.
Yeah, very interesting to see what kind of trip he pulls here, but you're right. I mean, he's been in really, really good form since the claim. And it's not like, I know they took him for 40, Dan, but it's not like this good form came out of nowhere for, let's be honest, an outfit Flying P that can get some crazy performances out of horses off the claim. But this horse has the back class that makes you feel like it's not really a surprise that he's gotten good again for Maker. His recent form is really hard to knock.
Uno Mas Bourbon is a very lightly raced 3-year-old. You can argue he still has a lot of upside. He got the job done at the distance in the Super Derby, which is not as strong of a race it was when Sunday Silence won it back in '89. In the Fayette last time out, he ran okay to be third. He's just going to have to do better this time around against Hit Show, and it's not like he's the only horse with upside in this field.
Yeah, right. And he's not the best closer in this race either, even though he was closing ground last time. Listen, I'm not knocking his recent form. It does feel like he's trending the right way for a really, really good trainer, Dan. This is a tough spot for him.
This is a tough race, I thought, to try to knock down a winner. But let's take a look at our top picks for the Clark. You're a huge Rattle and Roll fan. You were going to give him a shot and look, at least in the Breeders' Cup Classic, if he got in. If that's the case, you got to give him a look here. He's going to be running at the end, as will Crouppy.
Yeah, we'll see how they wind up betting this race, but he's 5-1 on the morning line. I think that's a very, very fair price for this horse. If it holds in here, he's a closer, but to me, he's not a one-run closer like some of the other horses in here. I think he'll have the jump on some of those deeper closing horses in here, and I think he fits right in, Dan. 5-1's fair.
I just want to go for a price. The one Bull Z is 12-1 on the morning line. And listen, maybe last time was the time to have him, and that was just a career-making performance that he won't be able to replicate. I'd like Frankie to ride this like a turf race. Break, sit the pocket, hope for the best. He's shown he can sit and rate in the past. 1597 for me, 7365 for my good edition of the Clark on Friday at Churchill Downs. Best of luck. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe button below for more great DRF content, including Race of the Days, stakes previews, and lots more. You can find it right here.